Hey, what's going on, Doug?
Oh, we're still hanging in paradise, aren't we?
Purgatory.
One day at a time.
It's like Hades, man. It's been so hot.
Well, there's that too. And I have every window and every door closed while we record this, and it's already, I'm starting to like drip. Got no air, no nothing. What else going on with you?
Not too much, just end of August here, getting into the fall of the pandemic.
Los Angeles weather is heating up, just as it normally does around August, September, where we start getting toasty. It's about, 90 today or so? And about 105% humidity.
And you're closer to the beach than I am.
But it's still it's hotter than a monkey. Hey, so we got a great episode, as we always do, as I always compliment both of us, because we do a lot of work and we get some great episodes, right?
I love this one. It's a person I'd never met before, but I was really excited to talk with him. Chris Frantz of Talking Heads. He was a drummer, and he's written a brand new book called Remain in Love, Talking Heads, Tom Tom Club, Tina.
A great new book. This was one of these ones that came down really fast for us. So we had, a couple days to prepare for this, but we got it done, and it was great. And Chris is going to talk about forming the band with David Byrne and how exciting that was, and along with Tina, his wife, Tina Weymouth. He also talks about hanging with Andy Warhol and opening for the Ramones on their first frickin' tour.
There's some crazy stories in the book about that tour, and surprised they survived. But a lot of great stories, and including the last time the Talking Heads played live. What happened? What
did happen? If you weren't there, you're going to hear what happened.
Exactly.
So here we go with a great interview with Chris Frantz of the Talking Heads.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Really appreciate it. I was fortunate enough to see Talking Heads several times, but I don't think we ever had the chance to meet. So I apologize.
I don't believe we did, but now we're meeting in cyberspace. Ooh.
During the pandemic. First of all, it's a huge pleasure to have Chris Frantz of Talking Heads join us on Rock and Roll Confessional. You've just written a new book called Remain in Love, and what a great love story. What a great book and what a great love story.
Oh, thank you very much, Rita. I felt like I had a sort of unique story to tell because of the bands I was in, but also because of my relationship with Tina. Long time relationship, I should say. And so I think that's a pretty unique perspective. So, hence the title. Yeah.
Remain in Light, Remain in Love, and it was just perfect, and really enjoyed the book a lot. I'm just amazed at how many details you remembered from going way back. It was like, man, I wish I had your memory.
Yeah, I was going to say that you must have a hell of a diary, because knowing every song you played at every show is pretty amazing.
Well, I didn't keep a diary, but I did keep the set lists, and Tina kept not a diary, but a date book. She would buy them at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, like the one for 1977 has King Tut on the cover.
Oh, yeah.
And she would write down, 77 was a big year for us, and she would write down the name of the venue on a particular day, how much money we got paid, how many tickets were sold, and how many encores we got, and assorted other little things. But that was very helpful to me. I didn't keep a diary or a journal. Like my entire Talking Heads experience, I thought, Chris, you should be keeping a journal. And we didn't have a camera either. We didn't, we were getting our picture taken by other people. But if I'd been smart, I would have had a camera like Chris Stein from Blondie.
Yeah.
But I didn't. But fortunately, I have a pretty good memory, and I was able to remember. Tina's calendar books would jog my memory, and also looking at itineraries from back in those days. And I have vivid memories because they were very exciting times.
Yeah, you talk about your tours in Europe and the details. I think your first tour was with the opening for the Ramones.
Yes, that was the first tour we ever did anywhere.
Wow.
And it was opening for the Ramones at the peak era of punk music, spring of 1977. In Europe, they called it the capitals of Europe. We played more than just the capitals, I can tell you, but it was Europe and the UK, and we finished up in the UK during the Queen's Jubilee weekend. Queen Elizabeth was celebrating 25 years as Queen. That doesn't sound like that long now.
Not now.
But at the time, it was a super big celebration in London, and we were playing the Roundhouse with the Ramones.
And what were you considered as? What did the punks consider you as? Did you fall into punk?
I don't think, with the possible exception of the Sex Pistols or whatever, and even I don't know that they ever referred to themselves as punk. That was like a marketing thing, and when it ceased to work, because you all were in radio, some stations would say, "Oh, we don't play punk music, so we only play good music." So Seymour Stein of Sire Records had a good idea. He said, "Oh, Talking Heads, they're not punk, they're new wave."
Mm.
And all of a sudden we were new wave, which suited radio programmers much better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Going back early days, I was fascinated with your childhood. You were born in the South, and your dad was a military man. And I connect with that because my dad was a military man as well. So, traveled around different bases and stuff like that. And, reading about life back there and then, life in Pittsburgh and around. But it seemed like you knew about music, but you also went the artistic direction. Because I think it was, I don't know if it was the Beatles or the Stones or Elvis or whatever that got you into music, but somehow, some way, you connected both art and the music.
Yes, well, to me, visual art, painting or sculpture, or whatever, and music kind of go hand in hand. It's the same impulse that makes you want to create a painting or write a song or just play a song. It's the desire for creative expression, and I had that at I think a pretty early age, is a desire to make stuff. And I went to art school because by the time I had a very good art teacher who really opened my eyes, and he said to us, anybody can be an artist. And I thought, oh, anybody can be then I could be an artist. And I think I was 17 years old when I decided, I had this epiphany, I'm going to be an artist. And I was playing in little pickup rock and roll bands and stuff at the time, but I never thought of it as a serious possibility for me to be, to actually make records. I always thought that the guys who make those records, they come from Liverpool or London or New York or San Francisco. They don't come from around here. And but I did think, oh, I could be a painter. I'm in Pittsburgh. Andy Warhol was from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I could, follow that path, which I was happy to do because I love painting and drawing. And then I ended up at the Rhode Island School of Design, which is where I met Tina and where I met David. And I started missing my drums. And I was still painting and still excited by painting, but I started missing playing, and got my dad to drive my drum set up to Providence, Rhode Island, in the back of the Ford Country Squire. And I started playing again. And the next thing you know, I had a little band with David Byrne called the Artistics. And our sole intention was to just entertain our friends, to play at parties and dances, and we did play at a few parties and a couple of dances, and it was really good fun. The Artistics. You
were one of the first people that wanted Tina to join the band. That was very forward thinking for you, because women weren't in rock and roll bands, like that, and playing a band. And she just never did. She held you up for a couple of years on that.
Yeah, she quite rightly thought that. Well, what she said was, no, that's the rock and roll is a boys' club, and I don't want to get into all of that. But she said, I'll be supportive, and I'll help you in any way I can. But so she was a big fan, and she also drove my drums around Providence, Rhode Island, in the back of her car. It was a Plymouth Valiant. And she came to all of our performances and everything. And then when we moved to New York together after graduation, and we got a loft with David Byrne, I think she saw us, struggling to find to form a band, to find other people that had a similar aesthetic. And we just weren't finding them. I mean, there were lots of cool musicians around, but they were mostly into doing more of I would say, a more traditional kind of, glam rock, even, like the New York Dolls and that type of thing.
Sure.
The guys wanted to wear satin trousers and have platform shoes made of lizard skin,
That David Johansen.
Yeah, David has a little cameo or two in my book.
Yeah.
I was really intrigued with, we just had the movie Laurel Canyon come out, and it just showed how in Southern California, where we are at, it was just so intertwined, that whole music business. But the same thing happened in New York. I mean, when you were there, it was like, okay, you had Blondie starting, Lou Reed was there. I'm trying to think of some of the other artists. Television. Oh God,
television. Patti Smith.
Yeah.
Was a kind of the queen of the scene.
Yeah.
Iggy.
Music.
CBGBs, that whole era, and that was like the East Coast definitely version of Laurel Canyon. In a sense.
I guess you could call it that.
Probably not as nice looking.
Yeah. I've seen the Laurel Canyon stuff, and they were living in much, shall we say, more desirable conditions.
No dead bodies and fires, and
they had. I think they had their share of fires, but we.
Yeah. But I mean, your rent was like $200 or $300, and it's like and that territory now is just like super expensive and so forth. But it was a different New York. And what was that scene like? I mean, because you talked about Andy Warhol, and you actually had an art trip from your school to go see an Andy Warhol exhibit, and then later on you actually got to have lunch with him. I mean,
yeah. After we had done maybe we had been performing for maybe 2 months or 3 months or something, and there was quite a little buzz. We created quite a little buzz. And the whole CBGB's thing was starting to get a buzz. Sort of internationally, people started showing up from London and Paris and Tokyo and Atlanta and Chicago, So it was very interesting. And do you remember the series? Now, my beagle wants to be fed.
Hi, Beagle. You have two of them, don't you?
Yeah, we have 2 beagles.
Yeah.
It's their dinner time. Yikes.
Sorry. Tell them we apologize.
That's all right. But anyway, Andy Warhol came down to see us with a painter named Duncan Hanna and this Lance Loud from the series The American Family. or An American Family, which was like the first reality TV.
Right.
Lance was something of a star. Anyway, he and Duncan brought Andy Warhol down to see us, and you know, we were less than a year out of art school, or only maybe a year, and we felt kind of fresh in New York. And Andy Warhol said, "Oh, they're so cute. Do you think they'd like to have lunch at the factory?" And Duncan and Hannah said, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure they would." And so. Oh, darn it.
That's your other dog calling you.
Yeah. Don't forget our lunch. Remember
anyway,
us?
So we of course we accepted, and we had lunch with Andy. We had what's called the artist lunch. He had two lunches, the artist lunch and the patrons lunch. The patrons got much fancier lunches. But we got it was like a box delivered to the factory, and it was a chicken salad sandwich with a couple little grapes and a bag of potato chips. Very nice. And you know, Andy didn't have too much to say, but he was there, and we were sitting with him, and it was so exciting. He was a man of few words, I think, unless he knew you pretty well. And he, at the time, working on a series of pet portraits. Like, you know, he had done portraits of famous people and wealthy people that could afford to have him do their portrait. But now he was working on wealthy people's pets. Yeah.
That's funny.
Good transition.
Whatever works. I mean, he still made a bundle, right?
So from tomato soup cans to
he did all right. Yeah.
And still doing all right.
Yeah, it's a shame he you know, what happened. He was basically just being held together by, you know, modern medicine ever since he got shot.
Yeah.
And it finally, everything just gave up finally, but which was a pity.
You are a person with a lot of patience. You talk in the book about, you know, the early days with David Byrne. And David was kind of a unique character, but you said, no, there's something unique about him. He doesn't sing right, but the way he sings is correct. So that was another thing that you spotted, you know, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even at the school at the time. He was just hanging out again, right?
Yeah, he had dropped out of the school and kind of hitchhiked, I think, around the country, and then come back to Providence. And he was hanging out with some mutual friends of mine. And that was how we connected. One of our friends, a guy named Mark Kehoe, was making a student film about his girlfriend getting run over by a car. And he said, he knew I played drums, and he said, "Chris, you think you could create some really cacophonous, like dissonant, you know, anxiety-ridden sound for this particular scene?" And I said, "Sure, man, I can do that. And bring your tape recorder over to Tina's carriage house, the carriage house where Tina lives. We'll do it." And so that's where I was keeping my drums. Tina was nice enough to let me keep my drums there because my neighbors didn't like it when I played. And so Mark brought his tape recorder, and he also brought a guy with him to play some guitar. And he said, "Chris, this is David Byrne." And I said, "Oh, yeah, I remember you, David," because we had been in the same class freshman year, although we didn't have any courses together. But at that time, he had a big, long beard and like hand-cut hair, which was real kind of like
unique,
like a real rough haircut. Short and but a very long Rasputin-like beard, or maybe like John Brown, and he had a whole new look now, which was, he had dyed his hair, bleached it with Clorox, and it was completely white, cut short, kind of punk style, and we did that scene we did the music for that scene for our friend's movie. He was very happy, and I said, "You know, David, I've been thinking about starting a band here at school. Would you be interested? And he said, I guess so. That's when we started playing together.
Wow.
Yeah.
You said in your book that he was high functioning, and I'm wondering what the pros and cons of that were for you and the band, because I look at him and I went back and I looked at some of the old videos, and he's brilliant on stage as a performer, but it's when it comes down to maybe what, like the interviews like on Dick Clark, and, he's kind of answer Dick's questions with yes or no answers and not really elaborate. And so I'm wondering musically how that helped and hindered the band.
Well, I have to tread very carefully when I speak of autism in any way or being on the spectrum, because in this very woke climate that we live in, it's come to my attention that there's some people that take this subject they're very sensitive about anything I might say regarding autism.
Okay.
Or David Byrne and Asperger's. David himself has said that he thinks he probably had. You never really get over it. It's one of those things that you're born with, and it's not like you can cure yourself of it. David had a unique perspective, and I appreciated that. It was like just what I was looking for in a collaborator, because it was something that set us apart from everybody else. Was his take the song, for example, "Don't Worry About the Government." Imagine somebody like Freddie Mercury writing that. I don't think so.
Right.
Or Don Henley. So it was a whole different niche, if you will, which people found interesting. The whole Talking Heads band had a different take on show business and entertainment. Yes, we wanted to get famous and we wanted to make a good living and everything, but what we really wanted to do was go down in musical history, and that was our ultimate goal. And fortunately, we did all of that.
Yeah,
it's like a kind of a miracle.
But you did it legit. You didn't create something to sell to the public. I believe you were yourselves the whole time.
Yeah. I can't remember ever, catering to any particular trends or anything like that.
Yeah.
Although we were certainly aware of the trends.
Sure.
Time for a quick break.
It's time for a break. Where are you going to go get Scooby Snacks, or what are you going to go get?
Maybe I'll go to the movie theater and get some popcorn.
Oh, can you pick me up something to drink? How about Starbucks? I could use one of those.
They don't have those at the movie theater. I can get you some red vines.
No, you go, if you would go to the one that's right near your house, we'll go to there's a Starbucks. So just go,
whatever.
tell me where to go.
It's 100 degrees and you still want something hot?
I might get something cold.
Okay. So we want to first off thank our Patreon supporters, as we love to do. You guys are fabulous. Again, we thank you for rocking and rolling with us, for supporting us. You guys put it all together, and we really, really appreciate it. It's a small monthly donation, but we do have some great people that have decided to help support us. So we want to thank them. Normally, one of the perks is that you get to submit questions to some of the bands. Unfortunately, this one was difficult because, like I said, I think we got a word on late Friday that we had an interview on Monday. So we didn't really have time to send out an email and coordinate all that. But normally, if we have enough time, we'll send something out, and you can submit a question if you want, and you'll get some credit on the air. If you would like to support us, it can be done for as little as $1 a month. Please go to Patreon or go to our website, rockandrollconfessional.rocks, find the support tab, and just sign up. It'll take you, I promise, 2 minutes, and you can just spend $1 a month. That will help us out. Or you can spend more if you'd like, if you really love us, like some people really, really love us. You know what I mean? So, Rita, you have a Talking Heads trivia question.
Yeah.
That we're going to give the answer at the end of the show. But what you got, man?
So their last studio album was called Naked, What two animals are on that album cover?
Interesting. Huh. I know one.
Or should we just say living creatures?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably better.
All right. That sounds fair.
In the second half with Talking Heads drummer Chris Frantz, he starts off telling us about Lou Reed trying to get the band to sign a contract and how hard it was to work with David Byrne and much more.
So, here we go. Yeah. Get ready for the second half of our interview with drummer for Talking Heads, Chris Frantz.
You did a lot of smart things, too. There's a point in your book, Remain in Love, where you talk about Lou Reed and, you know, how he was a fan of the band and you were like super big fans of his. And he actually wanted to sign you to a label also, right?
He wanted to sign us to what's known as a production deal. And he wanted to be our producer. But the standard production deal that we were offered by Lou, we were so excited. Lou Reed wants to work with us. And we took it to a lawyer, very proper, highly respected law firm in entertainment business. And they said, the guy looked at it right away, said, "Oh, I would never allow one of my clients to sign this. This is a standard, like, boilerplate production deal where Lou Reed will pay for the recording, but then he'll own it. And he can sell it to anybody he wants, any record company or any, K-Tel or anything like that. He can do whatever he wants with it, and if it's a hit, he makes the money. You don't make anything." And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
That wasn't exactly what we were hoping for.
Yeah.
And so we remained friends with Lou, but we didn't do business with him after that.
Well, it's a good thing. I mean, you were looking out for yourselves because there's so many stories.
He was still very supportive. In fact, he played on a Tom Tom Club record, the album called Boom Boom Chi Boom Boom. We did a cover of Femme Fatale, the Velvet Underground song, originally sung by Nico. When we did it, Tina sang it, and Lou played guitar and sang background vocals on it. And in fact, he came and performed with us with Tom Tom Club when we played that song at CBGB's. So that was back in 1988. But he was a wonderful guy in many ways, but not so great when it came to the business.
Yeah. It must have been a real shock to you when you saw certain things in David Byrne's character that wasn't giving you credit for things. And that's a really difficult thing to do when you're in a friendship, partnership thing, and somebody's trying to steal all the credit. I mean, that's horrific. And how did you handle that? Did you address it to him, or? Well,
we did, but he just kept doing it. And it was like we thought, Jerry and Tina and I thought, well, things are getting better. David's going to feel more like, David's going to like relax and give credit where credit is due and things like that. But he just never did. And we had to, no matter how many times we called him out on it, he just kept doing it. It's like it's part of his, part of the way he is, And I suppose he's still doing that, with somebody.
Mm. Did you take any legal action, or did you think about taking legal action?
No, we didn't. We were all doing okay with the band, and we loved our band so much, and we wanted the band to continue. And David was a big part of the band, but so were the rest of us,
Yeah.
So we kept things we kept it together as best we could up until one day he finally sneaked out of the band. That's the way I say it. And it was difficult and it was maddening at times, but it wasn't like that every single day. We would sort of get over it, and we would have wonderful experiences, and we continued to have really up until the time we stopped touring. when we stopped touring, things got a little bit weird.
And that was a surprise to you that you weren't touring anymore, right?
Yeah. I mean, that was, we were one of the best touring bands out there.
Mm-hmm.
And he just says, so we're not touring anymore? This is 1984 and you guys are super red hot. And it's
the last show that we did as Talking Heads was in New Zealand. It was a big festival. And imagine this, we were headlining. The other bands on the bill that day were the Eurythmics, the Pretenders, Simple Minds, and In Excess, and Midnight Oil. Okay? And we were at the top of the bill. We had also done this in Sydney and Melbourne in Australia. Then we flew over to New Zealand. So halfway through our 5 songs into our set, David ran off stage, just left. And, the band is playing and the band is playing. We're playing and people start looking at me. So I say, okay, I'll go get him. We stopped and we apologized. We stopped for a moment. I ran off stage and I pretty much had to drag David back onto the stage. I mean, eventually he went, but I really had to, encourage him to get back on the stage. And his reason for not wanting to finish the show that day, we never did the entire set, actually. Quiet, Poppy, quiet. was that he didn't want to play for a bunch of people dancing in the mud. Now, there may have been a little bit of mud in the front of the stage. There often is at these outdoor gigs.
Cooling everybody off.
It was a beautiful sunny day. It was warm. It was perfect. Everything was perfect. But he had decided that he didn't want to, do the show anymore live. And that was his excuse, Didn't want to play for people dancing in the mud. So there you have it. That's a kind of an exclusive. I didn't even write about that in my book because it was such a bummer.
Well, your book is very it's a very happy book. I mean, it tells your life, it tells your story, it tells your love for Tina, which is absolutely incredible. Was there ever conflict or anything with Tina? I don't mean between the two of you, but just as bandmates more, not lovers, on tour and things like that? Or was it as happy as you make it sound? There was a lot of love in everything that you said about her, which is really beautiful.
I met Tina in 1972, or maybe it was 1971. No, 71. I met her in 71.
The book.
and we had our first argument in the winter of 1979, just before Christmas. So we got along really well. But the argument was, basically about how are we going to deal with the problems with David, wanting to leave the band. We had just heard from a journalist at the end of a European tour right before Christmas. The journalist said, what are you going to do now that David is leaving the band? And we were like, what? Because we had just played in, I believe it was Paris. Anyway.
It was right after your third album, right?
It was Fear of Music, yeah. A really good album. And, third album. And so to answer your question, Tina and I have had, our moments, but we're both reasonable people and we understand. It's a difficult situation sometimes, being an artist, period. But, trying to keep a band going, it takes some gumption.
Well, It took some gumption for you guys when David said, okay, well, we're not touring. Well, we want to do something else. You said that he was working on a solo album. So you guys do Tom Tom Club and become a huge success.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it was like magic. And it was very life affirming, I think you could. Yeah, because all of a sudden things were going great.
Smoothly, I would think.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you guys were in complete control, right? I mean, it was your band and you guys wrote the music.
Yeah. We collaborated with some other people on that album.
Adrian Ballou?
Adrian Ballou was one, and our engineer, producer, Stephen Stanley was one. And also Tina's sisters were down there on the vocals, so they helped on that too.
Nice.
In fact, it was one of Tina's sisters, that Lonnie, who, Poppy, you got to be quiet now.
Hey, Poppy.
Who they went to the, Tina was a little worried about, this is the first time she'd ever been expected to be the lead singer. Mm-hmm. And she was a little concerned because she never planned on that, never imagined being in that position, but there she was. And so I said, Tina, there's this thing called rap now. You can just rap. You don't have to sing. Now, knowing what I know now, rapping is also very demanding in performance-wise. But anyway, she said, oh, yeah, words. I could write a song about words. And so she went down to the beach with her two sisters, and they were conferring with each other about this song. And one of them, Lonnie, said to Tina, remember when we were kids in France and in the playground they would do this chant that went, rum sum sum, or rum sum sum, cooney 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 cooney, rum sum sum. And Tina said, yeah. And they all remembered it. And they thought that they should add that into this song. So they came back to the studio, all three of them, arm in arm, and they said, we've got an idea. And Stevie, the engineer, set up the mics, and they went out. We played the track, and in the place where the chorus should be, where we had nothing yet, vocal-wise, they sang the rum sum sum part, and we all went, hallelujah.
Yeah.
because it sounded so fresh and so unexpected and unique.
Yeah.
So the whole record was like that. It was like just one magical event after the next. And I think it shows when you can hear that in the grooves.
But so ahead of your time also with music, because hip hop was just starting to come on and it hadn't really transitioned to modern music, new wave music. It was just like its own entity. But you and your background with African music and African instrumentation, you experimented and you guys called that. I mean, that was pretty awesome. Way ahead of your time.
We loved they didn't even call it hip hop yet. They called it rap.
Yeah.
But we loved that, and the breakdancing and the graffiti and that whole thing. And we also loved dub reggae, and all reggae, but particularly the dub mixes. Yeah. And we liked R&B. So our idea with Tom Tom Club was to create a record that could be played at our friends' parties, and that they would dig it. Everybody would dig it. And we also were determined that it be something that sounded completely different from Talking Heads, because we'd already done Talking Heads.
Nice.
So that's how that came about, and it was really something.
I wanted to know about the album covers.
Well, actually, Tina and I designed the cover of Remain in Light, and we all had a hand in. It was really David's design, the first Talking Heads 77, the all red, but we all looked over his shoulder while he was doing it, and Jerry's design for Fear of Music came from the flooring in Tina's brother's loft, this industrial non-skid flooring. So, we keep our hand in it, although once in a while it's nice to give it to someone else, like this book cover. Let me just show you. Isn't that great? And
I love it.
It's designed by a friend of mine named Megan Wilson, who's at Penguin Books. And it references Remain in Light, the Talking Heads 77, and Tom Tom Club. I think she did a wonderful job.
A very catchy cover.
And Tina.
Right. And Tina.
And Tina, yes.
No, that's great stuff. Can you tell us quickly about the time that she kind of surprised you when she brought home this bass?
Yeah.
I love that.
That was another hallelujah moment. I'd been trying to persuade Tina to play in the band. I didn't know if it would be bass or what, but I knew that she played folk guitar, and I knew that she shared this artistic aesthetic with us. We dug the same things, and we were on the same wavelength. But she had refused. She wanted to stick with her paintings, and who could blame her? But one day, it turns out that she'd been secretly putting $5 down a week from her very meager paycheck from her day job. She put $5 down a week on this 1963 Fender Precision, which is if you know basses, that's like one of the ones. And she knew this. So one day, right after her birthday, her parents had given her $100 for her birthday. And she put all of that down and paid off on the bass and brought it back to our loft. And she still didn't have an amplifier, but she walked into the door with this big bass. And, Tina's petite.
It's probably bigger than her, right?
It looked especially big, but I was like, wow, this is, so great. And she taught herself, some people say that David taught her or that I somehow taught her. I don't know how to teach bass. David doesn't know how to teach bass. She taught herself. And
she played some acoustic guitar before, and she took lessons in, I think it was a piano or something like that.
She played acoustic guitar and flute.
And flute, that's what it was. Yeah.
It's the flute that helped the bass.
Tina always says, you can't get funky on a flute.
That's a bumper sticker you need to put out.
But anyway, she slowly but surely, actually very quickly, she got it. What was wonderful about Tina, and this was something that I knew she had a great sense of rhythm and great taste in music, but I didn't know that she had such a great mind for composition. She composed bass parts that were very different from what you would expect, and not at all like based on the blues or Chuck Berry or something like that. They were from a whole different place, and I think a more classical place. But she, at the same time, she could be kind of funky with it, and so it just worked out great. Her style was very distinctive. It still is. She's been a source of inspiration for not just many young women bass players, but also young men that have told me, it's Tina that made me want to pick up the bass guitar. So
sure.
That line from Psycho Killer, man.
Yeah.
No, that was like, the first time I heard the Talking Heads, and it was like, oh my God, this is great.
Yeah.
I know we're probably running short on time, and CW probably has a couple of questions, but I wanted to ask just like Broadway stuff real quick. And I don't know which direction I'm going to go, so I'm just going to go there. You are, your mom said that you are related to Thomas Jefferson, that there's a lineage in your family.
Yeah.
And I found that really interesting because of the recognition of Hamilton in the stage play. And have you ever seen Hamilton, I wondered?
I haven't seen Hamilton. I've seen excerpts on TV, but I could never get tickets.
Well, you can watch it on the Disney Channel now. It's is
it on the Disney Channel?
Disney Plus.
You can watch,
Disney Plus.
But it's so good. Cool. And the main thing I love about that is legacy. It talks about legacy. And that's an important thing that you did with this book, Remain in Love is like you're talking about the legacy of the band and letting people know the truth about what went on. And that takes a lot of guts to do that. That's what the whole play was about, legacy and, people realizing that Thomas Jefferson was great, but Alexander Hamilton had a lot to do with everything else too. And then I'm going to spin that off to Saturday Night Live. And I saw David Byrne with his American Utopia on Broadway. I didn't see the play, but I saw it on Saturday Night Live.
Uh-huh.
And I liked it. I liked it. It was good. And then I watched it again. I go, but that's the engine of Talking Heads. That's the drumming. And that's the bass. And it's like what you guys started. And he's, still getting so much of the credit. And
well, he's entitled to play those songs because he either co-wrote them or wrote them or whatever. But I mean, he's had great success with this that tour and this unique band that he's put together. And I understand they do some interesting leaping about. But I haven't been to the show. Had I been invited, I probably would have gone, but I wasn't invited, and I felt like it'd be too weird to just walk in unannounced, because people, when Tina and I are together, they still recognize us in New York, people our age, and it's a pity that David can't. Just pick up the phone and call the rest of us and say, let's do something. But that's just not his way, it seems.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, we're almost done. Just a couple more minutes. At the end of the show, we do something called the bonus round, and it's where we're just going to throw a bunch of questions at you real quick and see what happens. Maybe Poppy will be a little bit more patient, but what was your first concert you went to?
My first concert was, my first concert was a group called the Tams on the beach, Folly Beach, outside of Charleston, South Carolina, and they were a beach music concert, a beach music band. They did songs like "Laugh It Off" and.
Hey, Tina.
We assume it's her.
That was my wife in her robe.
Hi, Tina. She's getting the shampoo.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing all that you do for women in rock.
She says you're welcome. So it was a group called the Tams, and they had a hit at the time with "Shake a Tail Feather." Oh, and yeah. I was home Thanksgiving with my roommate. My boarding school roommate was from Charleston. He took me home, and he said, "Let's go see the Tams." And I'd never even heard of them. My second concert was Bob Dylan, but the Tams were more impressive.
Didn't you meet Bob Dylan at that concert? Or was that... No, that was the...
that was much, much later.
That was, at the Universal Amphitheater. You talk about that in your book.
Yeah.
Okay. Who would you want to meet that you've never met?
Who would I want to meet that I've never met? Oh, wow. Vincent van Gogh.
Ooh. Sticking with the art world. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope he can hear you. What was the craziest thing that ever happened on tour?
Craziest thing that ever happened on tour?
Besides somebody in your band pooping on the bed. Allegedly.
One crazy thing was a member of the Rolling Stones who shall remain this is in my book, who shall remain nameless. Right before we were to go on stage in Paris, he came backstage and said, "Anybody want to do a line?" I was like, "Yeah." And fortunately, the rest of the band said no. But I went to do a line with him, and as soon as I did it, I thought, this is not cocaine. Oh. And it was the other thing. And so I suddenly, we were just about to go on stage. We're waiting in the wings, and we have to go down these little stairs to the stage. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to throw up. And I felt that way through the entire set. And the next day, the review said, Talking Heads were even better this time than were the last time. So, go figure.
Yeah, go figure.
What band do you regret never seeing live?
The Beatles. I never got to see them. That would have been fun.
Would have been amazing. Yeah.
It's got to be a little bit disappointing for you, though, because I know that you were planning to do a big book tour with In Love.
I was going to come out to California. I was going to Colorado. I was even going to Oklahoma.
Wow.
But no, we're not doing that now. We're doing it in virtual reality like we are here.
But people can still get an autographed copy of your book, because I know there's a lot of book signings. That's a great way to promote your book and stuff like that. But people can still get a signed copy of Remain in Love. You want to tell them how they can do that?
Well, there are signed copies for sale at something called premiercollectibles.com. There's that. But you can also... I had book plates made up, which I can sign and then mail to a person. So,
do you just want to give out your home phone number so people can call you and order it directly?
They can get those through stmartinspress.com.
Okay, we'll find the links and put them on our website.
And you can find the book at all regular bookstores, too, and support bookstores. We appreciate
Support your local bookstores.
Yes, I always recommend supporting the local bookstores. And they have signed copies as well, some of them.
Okay, great.
Good to check out. Thank you so much for your time. It was such a pleasure talking with you. I remember the first time I saw you guys was at the Greek Theater. B-52s opened up.
Oh,
what
wow.
an incredible show. What an incredible. And then I was lucky enough to see you at the Pantages, too. When you did that line of shows that became the film. It was great stuff. Wonderful talking with you. A wonderful book. Best of luck with that.
Great book.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you, CW.
Thank you very much, Chris. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Poppy.
And tell Poppy we apologize for going into dinner time.
Yeah.
She calmed down. I don't know. It must have been the dulcet tones of your voice.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
Good night, Poppy. Good night, everybody.
All right. Thank you again so much. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome back. That was amazing. I really loved Chris. He was such a down-to-earth guy. Sometimes these rock stars, there's some crazy people out there. Let's just face it.
And some of them are so over-the-top rock star that they don't know how to turn it off.
Yeah.
But he's just like you said, just a low-key guy. And, it was cool that we got to see Tina briefly and doggies.
Yes, Poppy the dog was there. And we did put a picture of Poppy on our website. So if you do want to see Poppy, you can go to the website, rockandrollconfessional.rocks, and see a picture of Poppy and Poppy's brother or sister. I don't remember the other dog's
I forget the other dog's name, but it made an appearance too.
Yeah, they were looking for their food.
Yeah. But special thanks to Chris Frantz for taking some time out of his busy day. He's just written this book. He was planning a big old,
Sure.
He took the time to chat with us, and we appreciate that. And you can find out how to get a copy of his book. Special thank you also to Katie Bissell at St. Martin's Press.
And a super special thanks, of course, to Chris's dog, Poppy, who allowed us to butt in on his feeding time. So, and like Rita said, you can purchase Chris's new book, Remain in Love, Talking Heads, Tom Tom Club Tina, where you get great books, or you can go to our website to find out where you can order an autographed copy.
Love it.
Yeah. And you can follow Chris at Facebook at Chris Frantz, Frantz, Instagram Franz Chris, and Twitter at Chris Frantz TTC, like Tom Club.
Talking Tom Club.
Yeah, something like that.
So you can go to our website, check out the show notes. CW does a great job with that. I don't know how he has the mental capacity to concentrate on so many things, levels, and, show notes and all that kind of stuff. So I thank him for that. You can also find out information where to get autographed copies of Chris's book, along with cool videos and much more interesting tidbits. Find the show notes at rockandrollconfessional.rocks.
And if you listen to our show on iTunes, please take 2 minutes of your life and just subscribe, write a quick review. It doesn't take very long, and help us rock out. We appreciate it. All right, Reed, so give us the question and give us the answer in case people were too busy Googling while listening.
And the question is the last studio album from the Talking Heads, Naked. Features what two living creatures, and one is a chimpanzee, which they were thinking about, just making an album with the chimpanzee, a beautiful cover with, a monkey on the cover, and also it features a fly. So go find the fly. Go find the fly, or maybe it'll be an ant, but it's supposed to be a fly. So there you go.
Okay.
Hope you enjoy that.
Beautiful. Please follow us, like us, share us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. That's it for now, boys and girls. I think class is adjourned. Yay. Welcome back to this semester. And we're hoping everybody gets some fabulous grades this year. All A's.
We're hoping everybody has the wherewithal to trudge through it, man.
Wow.
I was just talking to somebody. It's Kobe Bryant Day in Orange County. It's 8/24. Yesterday was his birthday. And, and it was just like, 7 months ago that he passed away. And it seems like it's 7 years ago.
I know.
Because this year has just taken so long. But school will go by quickly, kids, so don't worry about that. Keep rocking. Have fun.
Keep rocking. Enjoy your life, people. Peace out. Woo.